Welcome to the Zinnov Confluence, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this panel today. There are quite a lot of people out here I see. Isn't it heartening to see people wanting to know and know about art in this tech conference? Thank you all for staying back for this panel. Slide. With a raise of hands, how many of you saw this installation at the conference last year? Fabulous. And with a raise of hands, how many of you recently saw it at the T2 terminal near the baggage section? Fantastic. Please hashtag Zinnov Confluence or Zinnov and hashtag Shantamani Mudaya so that more people can see this when they are traveling. Now, how many of you have been hearing music playing in the common areas, in the lobby? How many of you have been noticing the flowers, the arrangements, the aroma when you walk into a space which instantly puts you at ease? I hope you've been noticing it. All of these things are by design, and we will understand why as we go on. Bengaluru today is a melting pot where institutions are introducing art, well-designed spaces, bringing scientific thinking and culture together to reshape the city. Leading this change are four very experienced panelists who will share how investing in public art positions companies as forward-thinking leaders, amplifies CSR impact, fosters partnership with art institutions, and attracts talent to drive innovation. Let's start by understanding them on the personal side. There's a question to you all. Art often shapes our paths in unexpected ways. Could each of you share a personal story of how the arts have influenced your life and what specifically inspired you to take on the leadership role that you are occupying today? Do you want to go Jahnavi first, or?
Thank you. Thank you, Hina. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. We missed you last year.
Indeed, and my apologies for missing that last year.
No, this is, so great. We get to see her. Guys, you need to go to Science Gallery.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, quickly, my pathway to art, I've painted ever since I was a young girl. And every summer, my grandmother's welcome gift to me would be a box of watercolors, one brush, and one notebook. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, it's been a part of my life. And I think I also got it from my mother because she also painted. And this was all sort of hobby. Like, my mother wasn't a professional painter, but she painted at home. So it started in that manner. But I think I first ventured into it as an adult in any serious manner when I made my first documentary film, to which I brought my own research. So I'm a historian of science by training, and so I brought my research on the world's oldest functional cyclotron, or a particle accelerator, and I made a film of it because I think writing about it would have made the story far more dull, and the story as told through the voices of the people who actually rebuilt rather, and maintained this world's oldest functioning particle accelerator was very, very exciting. And so I thought film would be a fabulous way to bring it into the public domain and bring research, serious research from the archive into the public domain.
That was your medium. That was the medium that you were drawn to express yourself.
Well, also because, these things are all serendipitous, right? Like, what influences us, because I think that's where your question comes from, is because my friends, among my friends, the coolest ones were the filmmakers. So, glory by association, I thought if I made a film, maybe, some coolness will rub off on me. Well, you can be the judge of it after seeing the film. Anyone who wants to can see it. And in terms of the leadership role that I today occupy, I've been the founding director of Science Gallery Bengaluru for 7 years now, and have been involved in everything from land release to the construction supervision to the institutional design to recruitment to audits. You know everything about it. The audience here doesn't need to be told. And that was an accident. I was teaching. I was a faculty member at King's College in London, and I got a call from, maybe someone sitting here from a executive headhunter agency. And I went along with the conversation just out of curiosity. I mean, I had a stable job. They wouldn't have thrown me out, unless, of course, something went terribly wrong. Until I was 70, there was one peanut of a pension guaranteed at the end of it. But I went along with the conversation. By the end of it, I found myself, in Bangalore 7 years ago to take on this role. So it's been accidental. And no regrets.
Lucky for us, yeah.
Well, I think lucky for me too. I've learned a lot. I had no idea that I could endure construction supervision, for example. So it's been a fascinating journey. I've learned things about myself that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. But the only thing, and I'll end with that, is to say that if I had known what it would actually take to do this, I would have stayed on in my job and taught.
Well, as you know, art takes us on, different pathways, like I just said. Amit.
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. So, firstly, thank you for inviting me to the panel and to the conference. In terms of my background, I came from a family of engineers. So when I got admitted into architecture school, it was a shock for my family. And that's how when I got first exposed to art, because that was part of the curriculum, and understood form and function, how do they kind of co-interact to create, an environment. Then went to Kansas State, and in fact, in Kansas State, one of my thesis was on public spaces, and I think it's very topical here on how do you curate public spaces that have gone out of flavor, right? How do you make them more interactive? How do you make them people as part of the social fabric? And again, art played a role in there. So I think very well understood that I think workplace design and the physical space, and obviously how you design the space and how you then curate the space. It could be with art, it could be with signage, it could be with branding, etc. I think it all comes together, including music and aroma, to create the perfect work environment. And I think that's kind of the starting point of my journey with art. And then, I was in US, and I went to this space that, I saw, it was called 1871, right? And this was where there were 400 plus startups. There was large Fortune 100 companies co-creating the future of entrepreneurship in the US. And what was fascinating was that the furniture, the signage, the layout, all of it kind of worked together to create this environment, which was just absolutely a dream for a startup ecosystem. And on the way back, I thought, well, this could be something which is very interesting and could have potential in India. And that's how when I was in the flight, I wrote the paper business plan. And 10 years ago, in 2015, we launched Awfis, and that's the role that I play today.
Wow. Menaka, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, Hina, for that, and thanks for having all of us here today. You started with music, and I think growing up around music was one of the most beautiful things, because we grew up in a small township, but the fact that my parents would make the effort to drive down to the nearest city to catch a concert on the weekend. I think that was so important to understand what that meant, what that experience meant for all of us. Of course, I also had a mother who was a history buff, so we went to all the old monuments that existed, and that's why my initial training is as an archaeologist. So I was going to be in academia, trained to be an archaeologist, but the most transformative experience for me was when I worked at a 200-seat theater. It was a warehouse that had been converted into a 200-seat theater, and in a small community. And to be able to share performances and art with that community, to see what magic was being created when you could present art to people, I think that really shifted things for me. And so what we do at India Foundation for the Arts is just that. We support artists to create work, performances, publications, visual art pieces. So that bit, that what the arts can do for people, for community, for us as human beings, I think that's what has led me to this role. So that, the firm belief that art should be supported, nurtured, and should be in our everyday.
Harish.
So when I hear Jahnavi, Amit, and Menaka talk, I just feel very envious. Like, Jahnavi learned drawing, you said, painting when a young kid. It looked like everybody had a step-by-step journey and they ended up here. My life has been a series of accidents, and that's sort of how I ended up here. But my memorable moment, I don't know how many of you were in Bangalore, say about 30 years ago. On Kanakpura Road, there used to be a restaurant or a farmhouse called Rain Tree, not the one opposite Windsor Manor, but on Kanakpura Road.
Yeah.
And it was an old farmhouse. There was a big rain tree in the middle. There was like a water body around.
Isn't that where they did the festival?
They may have
Fireflies. Oh, that's Fireflies. Okay, sorry.
And they would occasionally have music performances in this place. And so I remember this very clearly. About 30 years ago, Hari Prasad Chaurasya was playing. And he had come and he was sitting under the rain tree in the center of this water body. And there were, I would say, 40, 50 people sitting around eating and all of that. And he started playing Rag Malhar, and it started drizzling. And for the next 15 minutes, he played and it was drizzling and nobody moved. And for me, that I can remember everything that happened that evening. And so the memory that etched in my mind is about the magic, in a sense, of when art and nature and all come together.
That's really powerful.
It is very powerful. And then I wandered off doing other things with my life, advertising and marketing and all of that. And about a year ago, I joined MAP on the marketing side. It is a great product. If you haven't been to MAP, you must come to MAP. It is a great museum, and I was consulting with them around how to build brand MAP in stronger, and then another happy accident, and now I'm running the museum.
Wow, fantastic. So these stories show us the transformative power of art and where it leads to. Small everyday experiences can make a huge difference to the way you live. Can we have the slide? Susan Maximin, the Executive Director of International Arts plus Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University, is a leading authority on neuroaesthetics. Through the book Your Brain on Art, co-written with Ivy Ross, who is a Chief Design Officer at Google Hardware, Maximin synthesizes robust evidence demonstrating how arts engagement positively rewires the brain, lowering cortisol, enhancing neural plasticity, and promoting long-term well-being. The arts in its countless forms transforms our minds and bodies. Art builds empathy, observational skills, and an aesthetic mindset. Imagine a corporate space where art isn't just a decor, it is a way to catalyze innovation. Moving on, a question to Jahnavi. Jahnavi, through your work at the Science Gallery, Bengaluru, you've explored how art and science intersect to engage the public. We've seen it when we've been there, and it's been really amazing. Based on examples like neurobiology and interdisciplinary exhibits, how does art foster innovation, enhance well-being, and deepen cultural awareness?
So, I think you started off the answer by showing us your art on brain, right? Like the kind of impact that visiting a museum has. So there's something, there's a product that was developed by the Mill in London called the Art Pass. And what they did was they would effectively, in brief, check the activity of your neurons as you entered a museum, and then checked it after you went out. And you basically got a little thing that showed you how it had impacted your general, what one might call serotonin levels, for lack of a better. I mean, I'm sure there's many other parameters that they use as well. And so they could actively show that being around, so there's significant research now. Even the World Health Organization has a center on art and health at the New York University, headed in fact by an Indian academic called Nisha Sajnani. Mm-hmm. And they do serious work on how art impacts people's mental health, but also physical well-being. So for example, the Lincoln Center in New York tried an experiment where they took violin players into wards where there were terminally or chronically ill patients. And the kind of impact they saw on the patients has now led some hospitals, of course well-resourced hospitals, to start looking at artworks not merely as 2D pieces on the wall, which now we see everywhere, but also other things like in the General Hospital in Cairo, in Egypt, for example, they have put in the waiting areas, so not just for the patients but also for their caregivers, they've started putting clay and tiles and paint and brushes and things like that so that people can engage with it with the sort of backing or from understanding in neurobiology that this affects you in good ways and it fosters well-being. Now, what we're trying to do at Science Gallery is sort of work with this assumption that there is a good reason for people to engage with art, but we're trying to also create, which is to your second point, which is create public engagement. Because I think what we have seen in the recent past across the world in the last 15 years, or maybe 20 years, is a certain deficit of trust in robust knowledge, trust in research, trust in facts, trust in science. And so how do we create a grown-up dialogue on what knowledge is, what is our relationship to it, how is knowledge made, what kind of insights can we offer into knowledge production? And this is true for scientific research in the sense that it's true for human, social, natural sciences. It's also true for engineering sciences. So how do we make these claims, and as a public, how do we understand it? Right? And again, many assumptions are built into the kind of work we do. And one of the assumptions is that, an accountant is a public for a biologist, but so is a biologist a public for an accountant, right? So we are so trapped in our silos and our specialisms today that in many ways we've lost the ability to see the big picture. So climate change being one, and I'm sure in this Confluence you're going to see and have seen already many conversations on artificial intelligence. What does that mean for the future of intelligence at all? Mm-hmm. Why do we think, for example, that when we do not even understand how our brain works, we can actually replicate it? So where is that confidence coming from? Why are these predictive models being trusted sort of, to be able to do things that we don't even know how we do and why, for example, right? So how do you as a public come to raise critical questions? And this is not to say that one pulls down these enterprises, but it makes them more robust when you enable people who are participating in it to actually ask good questions to make our surroundings, our decisions, our choices more robust, right? And so that's the work we do at the gallery. We target mainly young adults. So roughly between the ages of 15 and 30, but mainly between the ages of 18 and 28. And so that's the age group we work with. We organize year-long research festivals. We have mentorship initiatives in informal learning. The longest one is 14 months long, and the shortest would be 3-hour masterclass or workshop. And we have public labs. So we have 5 experimental spaces, which will allow for people across disciplines. So creating that kind of dialogue that, Shantamani, Mutaya, yourselves have always talked about, which is to bring artists, designers, and engineers in conversation with the human, social, and natural sciences, but collectively. Because today interdisciplinarity, and this is the last thing I'll say, has been reduced to biotech, and therefore engineers working with biologists because we need certain kind of an understanding how proteins fold, or we need a particular kind of medical technology. So these are conversations not driven by problem solving, because problem solving is not knowledge making. That doesn't mean one shouldn't be, that one should prioritize one over the other, but one should understand the distinction between the two. And I think that's the work we try to do. Mm-hmm. And that interaction that artists bring to the table, and we're launching a new exhibition, in fact, on the 9th of August called Calorie. And we all think we understand what calorie is, but come find out why even I didn't know what kinds of complexities are there and why it's an inadequate understanding of, food and what food means to us.
We'll make a note of that and move to Harish. Harish, through your work at MAP Bengaluru, what positive effects on mental well-being have you seen when companies incorporate art into their spaces? Can you talk about through way of examples?
Sure. We, as we have about 8 exhibitions in a year, and we have about 100,000 people who go through the museum every year. And just a few days ago, I was going through some visitor comments, And there's one person who had said, "Map is my happy place." And that's sort of what we want the museum to be. And we look back at other comments. There was a girl or a woman who had said that when I have a fight with my husband, I come to the museum because it makes me feel calm and I feel sort of de-stressed. And what somebody else had said, we have a permanent exhibition called Visible Invisible, which basically shows how women have been shown through Indian art over centuries. Yeah. And this girl had said that I brought my father here so that he could see through art. I could have a difficult conversation with my father through art about what somebody like me goes through. So we have seen that continuously, that people come and spend time with the artworks and they go away feeling different or better in some fashion. And slightly different, while most of the people who come to the museum are young adults, once a month or so we have workshops for adults. So workshops like crochet workshop, like doll making workshop. Those are the workshops that get sold out. It's all free. When I say sold out, get registered first. It's incredible. Last Saturday we had a Channapatna doll making workshop. There were 40 adults who were completely like hands-on, getting things done, and you could see the joy on everybody's face. So every day at the museum, we see people who come and engage with the art, and the happiness in their face. So
yeah, it's important to have that tactile experience, and that is what people are missing.
So the science is the science, but you can see it at the museum every time. So anytime anybody in this hall is stressed, come to MAP, and I'm sure you will leave a happy person.
Menaka, drawing from your 2 decades of in art marketing and fundraising at IFA, what types of funding models, philanthropy, grants, or partnerships are essential for art institutions to thrive and sustain long-term impact?
Thanks for that. I think it's a very pertinent question to all of us. I mean, there are a number of organizations working in arts and culture, working at the grassroots, working in cities like Bangalore. And it's so critical to build partnerships, collaborations, support that not only makes the organizations robust, but also helps them to innovate and take their programs forward. And to answer your question, what kinds of support one can do, I mean, just to say that in our history, we've had you have your traditional philanthropies and foundations like a Ford Foundation or a Tata Trust that have had the foresight and the vision to support arts and culture, and they've been leading the way. And I think it's time for others to join them as well. So, that's an invitation to all of you in the crowd. And, the modes of support can be varied. I mean, they led the way by seeding or supporting endowments. Today you have CSR companies, and I will name them because, like Citi, Titan, BNP, who support 3 to 4 years of a program. So you can support an institution over 4 years, you see what transformations are happening in their spaces, in the landscape. Or there are also, visionary spaces like the Growth Fund that says, let's not support programs, let's support operational costs, because institutions need that. They need to support their staff, they need to support communication, they need to support fundraising team. And I know that often in philanthropy and when we're talking about supporting arts and culture, people say that, there are other causes. There's poverty elevation, there's education, there's health, there's environment, and those are all equal concerns. But like the panel has just said, arts and culture is equally important. It has been important for our growth as leaders, for I'm sure everybody else in the room. And it's important for every child to get access to education, but also to be exposed to arts. So the invitation is to everyone to support various things, but also add arts and culture to your giving portfolio. Yeah. So that's something I would leave with.
Amit, as an architect and founder of Awfis, you've transformed flexible workspaces with a focus on technology and user-centric design. How does incorporating art and thoughtful curation reinforce company culture and innovation?
So now we sit in a very interesting situation, right? Because when we design our centers, I don't know who my end customer would end up being, right? It could be a startup, it could be a large corporate, it could be a GCC, it could be, a mid-sized company.
But good design affects everyone.
Absolutely. So I think what we have been able to do over the last few years is that we have been able to evolve the product so that it starts resonating with the core customer. When we started, obviously the startup ecosystem was what was there, and art was integral. In fact, I would call art, including our signage program, the brand that we built, etc., the artifacts that we have, all of that plays into how people perceive the space. And I think as the brand evolved, we obviously became a bit more mature, and hence the art alongside and the signage alongside evolved with it. Today, what we see is, clearly two things. One, I think the impact that art has on co-creation, collaboration, and innovation is huge. I mean, you can see people, how they interact with this space based on the kind of work that they need to do, and then the work setting itself and what is around, including art, makes a huge impact on how people are there. And I think our focus always has been on human-centric design. And to the earlier comments, I think if we can make people happy, if we can make people come energized on a Monday morning using art and all of these artifacts, I think we have done a great job. And if they leave back with a purpose, I think we have delivered on our promise. Today, what we are doing more specifically around art is that our Mumbai locations have now become the canvas for JJ School of Art and Architecture. The students are allowed to come and demonstrate their art, and then obviously the sale proceeds directly goes to them. So I think that's a little bit of a small contribution we are doing back to the society. And we actually have an art therapist in our marketing team who goes to rehab centers to help patients, but also does sessions for us and our clients within Awfis. So that's our contribution.
That's fantastic. Raise hands if your workplace has public art. Awesome. Now, can we have a slide? At Zinnov Foundation, we believe art should be a part of everyday life, visible, accessible, and meaningful to everyone. We are putting this belief into action through community-driven strategic art initiatives. We spoke about the artwork which was commissioned last year at the Confluence, and today it is at the domestic terminal, and it now greets thousands of travelers daily in the baggage claim area, creating a moment of pause and connection. Through our CSR funding, we also enabled the Sands Gallery to acquire a major work by artist Arun Kumar, supporting the growth of a cultural institution. You saw the video of the making and met the artists who created the installations in the break area. These are part of our latest commissioned works, and we are actively exploring opportunities to exhibit them more widely. What sets us apart as a consulting firm is bringing people together. We are helping other organizations adopt similar projects from concept to execution. Earlier this year, we published a comprehensive 14-step framework in a guidance document to make it easier for other companies to replicate and scale these efforts. Our approach combines artist collaboration with strategic CSR investment to build long-term cultural infrastructure. This is more than just about funding art. It's about embedding art into the fabric of everyday environments, creating moments of reflection, connection, and joy in places people move through daily, like offices, campuses, public transit, and public spaces. So, how can other corporates follow suit? How can companies foster innovation, partnerships, attract talent, and support mental well-being by building a culture of public art? Would you like to?
Very, very quickly. See, artists can actually foster innovation, and we've seen that. In fact, the British Council has just released a report, which you might actually share with your colleagues here, about how artists can impact in technological innovation. To just give you very, very quick examples, earlier examples, which make the point much clearer. So, the making of the pinkest pink, for example, right? Like which is a dye, or the making of the blackest black, the 1-ton black, which if you were actually to put here, paint a circle in it, and if you stood at a distance from it, you'd actually feel that you will fall into it, right? Like, and it's literally just a 2D painting. So to arrive at those kinds of innovation, it was an artist who demanded that of a laboratory, right? There are artists who've demanded certain kinds of mirrors from factories. There are artists who've demanded certain kinds of fabricated materials in order to create sculptures. So when engineering, art, and design come together in that manner, it also pushes the boundaries of engineering. It also pushes the boundaries of what we are able to do, what we're able to imagine, not only in the large picture in terms of what good life is, art embedded in everyday life, as you very rightly put, but also that black is going to do fabulous things for example, the space program, right? Or, for example, where you want to put it in places where you don't want light absorption. So on and so forth. So I think artists trained together with engineers in artificial intelligence, for example, in also neurobiology, for example, these things will actually push ideas further. And that's also sort of the assumption, but also the belief and hope behind the public lab complex that we have at the gallery. Sorry.
So we at MAP, we collaborate with corporates in 3 ways. One is, of course, site-specific installations. So if corporates are looking for something at site, then of course we can partner with them. We do partner with them in creating site-specific installations. The second is sort of relatively easy, which is high-quality prints of the original artworks that we have, which some companies we are partnering with, where we're putting these prints up for them. And these prints, of course, can be rotational. So you put it for 6 months and you get a new set of prints. So you don't have to actually invest in the artwork. You're only investing in the print, and you can keep changing it to keep the space alive. And the third, which MAP pioneered, which is a gallery on demand, which is digital galleries. So if you've been to MAP, we have a gallery on demand. It's 23 screens, where every exhibition that is finished ends up on these screens. So even if you missed the exhibition, you can come then and you can see it live. Yeah. We're doing the same thing with companies, where they're putting these digital galleries in their corporate offices. The content MAP provides, and it's shown in their offices. That's what we have on Terminal 2, domestic as well as international. You can see you can see content, which is artworks from the MAP collection shown there. So these are the 3 ways, and the TV thing is sort of, the TV or prints are sort of very low bar to entry. You don't need a huge amount of money. You just need to decide that you want to put art in your public space and call me, and then we'll get the prints.
Yeah. I hope you're getting a lot of ideas. Menaka?
Just to add to what Jahnavi and Harish have already shared, of course, yes, there's the tangible, there's the things that you can install, there's innovation that happens, the magic that happens when science and art and engineering can come together. But also bring artists to your campuses. Let them share their journey, share their conversation, share their art, but with artists that could create very interesting spaces in your office space. And also to say that, often some of the things that we do is work with corporate partners. And what we've noticed is we can work with the art, so we can co-create things with companies that fosters creativity, innovation, where you experience something from the art world that just pushes the boundary for you a little bit, and then your team is like, wow, there are possibilities. Then, of course, there is well-being. How can we get the teams together, and how can maybe a theater artist bring, do a workshop together and build teams? And of course, there's leadership as well, where you can, hear fabulous speakers from the arts world and interact with them. But I think building that space which you spoke to at the beginning, which was that space where there are those unexpected encounters that your team members can have within the space with art. There's something tangible. It's, they can interact and there's something tangible, but also building community with the spaces around you. So whether it's the other offices around you or the community that's around you, I think that's also equally important.
Okay. I've been just warned that we are running short on, we are already time up. So, Amit, quickly, if you can.
No, I think, Anna, today I think it's a fiduciary responsibility for every corporate to, create this art program, because I think when you walk into a company, it talks about volumes on how they kind of present their workspace, right? The culture and how they. And the second point I would say is that it almost creates a psychologically safe space if the company is able to demonstrate that various forms of expression are allowed to be demonstrated on its walls. And I think that then in turn fosters, happy, employees and, creates better productive and more innovative ideas and outcomes. So I think it's a fiduciary responsibility absolutely every corporate needs to do.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you all for your wonderful insights, and I hope the audience has got ideas on and a better understanding of how to incorporate art into their everyday lives and their spaces. And corporates, I urge you guys to, do something. Corporate heads, finance heads out here, please, take a cue, get in touch, support these institutions, and let's spearhead more art and culture so that, we can live better lives. Again, coming back to Susan Magnuson and Ivy Ross, who I quote, talking about earlier, they say we are standing on the verge of a cultural shift in which arts can deliver patent-proven health and well-being solutions to billions of people. This is a very exciting time when science, technology, and the arts are coming together. Thank you.